Is on live. Hey there, I am John Gums. I'm owner and editor of Dakota Grappler, coming to you live here on YouTube. We also have Google Plus and a few other things. This is the first Google Hangouts that actually works. We're going to give this a shot. Again, my name is John Gums. I'm owner and editor of Dakota Grappler, and tonight with me I have Watford City's head wrestling coach, Mitch Greenwood, a longtime wrestling fan, good buddy of mine. I've enjoyed what he writes, and he's always done good things for the website, for the Dakota Grappler itself, and I'm proud to have him on one of my first broadcasts. So I guess if Mitch would just talk, I think it would go to him.
How's it going, John?
Hey, pretty good. Just a couple questions. I guess we start off the wrestling season, wrestling practice about 2 weeks ago. How does it look for the Watford City team?
We're pretty optimistic about this year. I think we have a good squad. We're a little bit thin in the middleweights, but we've got some good depth down low, and we've got some good upper weights. So if we can spread some guys out around Christmas time, we should probably fill our lineup with all 14 weights, and I think we'll be pretty competitive.
Well, that sounds pretty good. You know, I have been around for a long time, and I've seen that Watford City program have its highs and lows, and I remember Frank Fish so much because I guess I grew up with him competing against my dad. But I got actually a post on Facebook and just want to give out a shout out to the Fish family, Frank and so forth, and had somebody say it was kind of different going to the school bus and not seeing Frank there for the first time this weekend.
Yeah,
any big shout outs for Frank you want to go to?
Well, he actually showed up to the tournament the other day, and he was there all day watching, taking in the action. And I guess one of the comments he said right away was, "It's the first time in 50 years I've had to go to a wrestling tournament and pay admission to watch it."
Well, that's pretty good because I tell you what, my dad still struggles. It's funny, I take him to stuff, and he always goes, when he goes to the front door, he goes, "I think I should get a free pass. I've done this so long." Yeah. But it is kind of funny. Couple things really quick. You know, going into this wrestling season, Region 4 has a little switch. You know, you guys got a new team, and you guys got to see Newtown. Now, it's one of those teams I never get to see, or it's really hard to see. Maybe this will be the first time I'll see them because they kind of will shift their schedule probably a little bit more out to the west there. Anything with Newtown? How are their numbers this year?
Their numbers are kind of low a little bit, I guess. They've got a pretty young coaching staff, and their head coach is in the school system, so I think that might help them. He's a PE teacher like myself, and we've gone to some different conferences together, and he's actually told me that through their school system, they offer a wrestling class that the kids can take. So
that would be great. I tell you what, I've always dreamt as a coach, just saying, guess what, if we could have an hour a day, imagine the numbers, how they'd build. And I've always said the football coaches probably should have a weightlifting class or anything. Right. Be interesting.
Yeah, I made the shift here last year from social studies to physical education, and I think it's going to pay dividends for our program. Now, here in Watford City, we're lucky we're building a new high school, so we're going to have 3 buildings in town. We'll have a K through 3 building, and then a 4 through 6 building, and then a 7 through 12. And I'm going to be in the 4 through 6 building when the new building gets up and running. And I've already got some plans to have some wrestling units for the PE classes. So,
well, that sounds pretty cool. No, Watford City's kind of an interesting situation because it's had this big boom of oil out west, and you guys have kind of seen numbers, but it's kind of transient numbers, where you don't always have all the kids at the high school level. Your grade school exploded. I know all the numbers there. How does it look so far this year for the numbers? Because I know the oil prices are down and everything else.
Well, I don't know if you heard, we were on track to transition to Class A, and that was supposed to start next year. But our numbers have dipped a little bit, and we've actually cut off our co-ops with the Alexander School and the Johnson Quarters Christian Academy, and that put our numbers back down below 325. So we're right around that 320 range, I think, and so it's going to buy us 2 more years in Class B.
Okay, well, it's kind of interesting when they base those numbers because they account for all of the males between certain ages. And I know there was the ones that fluctuated. You remember how Valley City had fluctuated back and forth from Class A to Class B a few years. And then we also have a couple schools actually, I think St. Mary's is actually under those numbers and could go Class B and has stayed Class A. We've had Watford City it's kind of the new thing into there, but we had Beulah for several years in Class A and is now in your region, Region 4. That's the way to say it.
Right. Yeah, and then with the North Dakota High School Activities Association rules, wrestling is one of the sports that, with their co-ops, that doesn't really affect that number. So, right now Beulah and Hazen are combined, whereas if they were combined in any other sports, those two schools together would easily be a Class A school. But with the regulations, they're able to stay Class B for wrestling.
No, it's kind of cool. Now, a couple other things. I was thinking of some questions going into this, but I've kind of all my brain's been tangled up here trying to get this Google Hangouts thing going. And if you watch the first one, please just toss it out the window and try to find this one. I'm going to try to delete that video along the way, trying to get this going. But I think this would be a good thing. I think we can get multiple coaches on here. We can discuss, matters of hand. Let's say there's something crazy going out there. I know a couple of years ago, Minnesota didn't have the Google Hangouts, but they did like a big meeting when they had this MRSA breakout, and they had these coaches getting together discussing, what are we going to do? And they actually postponed or actually canceled a couple of weeks of the wrestling season in certain regions just to combat a problem that was happening out there. So, this Google Hangouts is as good as you can get, I think. I don't know. I think it could be a new kind of put people on their heads, talk things live and see what happens.
Yeah, I think it could be a good tool for our sport. And the first thing I thought about right away was seating meetings.
Right. Oh, that's a very good idea. Yesterday I was up in Minot and I used another new tool called Periscope. Now, Periscope is live, basically videoing of the tournament. And I did the finals, and I did it all from my phone, and I have it all kind of vertical. Once I get that all figured out, I think that'd be good too. You could actually have parents could basically do the match live with their grandkids and set it out. It could be a private broadcast, could also be a public broadcast, which I did, and you can put it straight to not only Twitter will tweet it out, but you can also put it up straight to YouTube. And guess what? We need as much publicity for wrestling as we can get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, a couple other things. Now, I was working this out, and we have some of the preseason rankings coming up not too long. I like to see the first couple tournaments. What does your schedule look like coming up around the corner? Do you guys have any duels this week? I know that around the state I looked, and I know Bismarck High, they go against Mandan on Tuesday night. I know that Oaks has an early duel. There's probably some early this week. I'm going to pull some of that stuff up and maybe do another live Google Hangout here later this week so that I can get this down and try to get the screencast out there so you can see what's going on. I'd like to do some rankings on here. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then also, just looking at things. We can definitely pull up tournaments and look at brackets. We could look at basically lineups. You could actually make predictions of duels. For example, I could do Periscope Live. I could bring little clips in. You could analyze videotapes with other coaches saying, guess what, there's a couple new moves we're working on. Like I like a front head series, snap to a front head. And what would you do with this type of thing? And this is what I'm showing kids. There's so many possibilities here.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea to use it for some technique stuff. You could video some technique and send the links out to your kids. They could practice some moves at home.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you could visit with your own team. Sometimes you got to go. I know it's really different in Class B. Sometimes you go to a seating meeting the night before the team even comes to tournaments at times. I used to do that. I don't know. I just think it's wide open. I'm going to have to make a huge list and get people to just basically add to it and see what we can do to make this good. Now, how about you? I was talking about schedule first. What does it look like for you guys coming up?
For us coming up this coming week before Thanksgiving, we're done now. So we'll just have a couple days of practice leading into the break. And then we come back the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and we go to Killdeer for a triangular with Killdeer and Williston. And then the following weekend we'll be in Velva for their tournament.
Okay. Now, the Velva tournament, it moved to a one-day tournament. It used to be two. Now, what kind of teams? I'm going to have to get a list. What teams do you see there that you don't see usually during the normal year?
It's usually a pretty competitive tournament. There's a lot of the Region 3 teams that show up there. Talking with the Beulah coach this weekend, he said that they'll be there for the first time. Carrington is also there, so we'll see them. They're probably going to be the top team in the state. I I see.
I don't see why not. Yep, very true. They're gonna have to spread out a little bit. I tell you what, they could group up pretty quick. Those guys all grew. They had a very good football team this year. And when I looked at the weights, I was saying, oh man, some of their guys are all about the same size. And if they try to, and good teams do, they figure out a way to do it. You know, with descent, it's a little bit tougher. Class A has a little bit of an advantage there because we can wrestle sometimes two guys at a weight class. You could have two studs, and it takes at least points away from other teams, even though they're not scoring points.
Right.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I'm going to have to take a good look, and maybe tomorrow night I'll just do a little private one, or I'll get another coach on here. But I'm going to look at the schedules and maybe do a weekly live schedule thing, and then I plan on putting it on the Grappler. I know somebody had asked a question how we can get media links, like for radio broadcasting people that basically put stuff out there. And I think that'd be a good thing if these parents are going to tournaments. They have Wi-Fi and they're taping some things and willing to put out even their own team stuff. Put a link on the website, because guess what? There's going to be somebody that wants to watch wrestling out there who can't make it to the tournament. And this all can be archived later. And if somebody wants to go back, I think that'd be a good thing. Again, if you guys haven't had a chance, take a look at the Periscope app. It's very easy. It's free. It's a great thing to do, and get these kids some publicity out there.
Yeah, I saw that Periscope that you did yesterday. I think I saw it on Facebook, and I didn't get a chance to watch all of the finals, but got to watch a little bit of it. So that was kind of neat to see that the day afterwards.
Well, I think there's a couple of things I didn't put on my YouTube channel yet, but I went through the brackets. And I basically, at the semis time, I decided I was going to walk over the brackets and actually analyze the brackets a little bit and say, these are the matchups coming up. It'd be a good thing. I just remember as a kid, now this is maybe kind of crazy, but my dad used to give me $5 maybe I was 6 to 10 years old, and say, this is what you get for the day. And I would spend my first dollar every time getting a bracket. And I would fill out that bracket as a kid. I even learned that the wrestling coaches who were running these tournaments to try to help them sell the brackets so I can get one for free. And so I wouldn't have to pay that dollar for a bracket and just help them out, or to be a towel boy or something, some way to get a bracket. And then I would fill them out. So I've always been interested in looking at those brackets. And that's kind of why I've kind of fallen in love with track wrestling. I tell you what, I can go through their results and I see the wrestlers and see what they're doing. I like to see what weight classes they're at. I kind of get disenfranchised a little bit with the college because I got so involved with high school. But now, as my kids start getting older, I start looking at the college things too. And man alive, there's some lots of good stuff out there you can get that we never used to with track wrestling. I used to, look at the old magazines and just, see the results from Iowa versus Oklahoma State or all these big matchups. I was always kind of, after Terry and Troy Steiner and a few other ones, I was always watching Iowa. But even previous to that, going back to just Dan Gable himself, there's so many good wrestlers that come out of the area. I even watched Nebraska quite a bit as a kid. But I don't know. I like talking wrestling. I know you do too. What are some of the things that you look forward to this wrestling season? Do you have any big goals for your team? Do you guys got a shot, you think, maybe making the duels? I know that Bowman's got a really nice team this year. I know, Hettinger's going to be maybe a top 3 ranked team out of your region. Kildroy's has a few studs to take some places out of there. Beulah's got a really nice team. Region 4 is probably as tough as it's been probably in 20 years right now.
Yeah, I was looking at that, kind of broke down the returners, who's coming back from this year. And, I think Region 2 with Carrington and Pembina County North, they're probably they've got the most firepower up top. But from top to bottom, I truly think Region 4 is going to be the most competitive region in the state. And when I broke down the returners, I take out last year's seniors and try to fill in 8 guys from each weight class. And when I did that, Region 4 had more kids than any other region coming back. And like you say, team-wise, Hettinger is going to be the top dog until someone proves elsewise. But I think Beulah Hazen has a really nice team right now. They looked really good this weekend in Newtown. I think we're right in the mix with them. Like you mentioned, Bowman has a good squad. And then in Killdeer, they have some really tough kids. I don't know what their numbers look like if they can fill out a varsity roster, but the kids that they put in their varsity lineup, they're going to be good. And then even New Salem's got some young kids that are really talented. Standing Rock doesn't have a lot for numbers, but they've got some tough kids, and there's no weak spots in our region. So,
well, like I said, I remember a few years back that Region 4 had a hard time maybe even filling a couple of the weights going into state, because you only get to take 4, and usually the cream rose to the top, right, and the best ones got to go. But then all of a sudden, oh man, there's 5, 6 good kids in that weight class, and it's kind of sad when it all comes down to it. It makes them tougher, but I know Region 1, it's been 10 years solid where there were guys sitting at home because it was so tough. But now, I guess what, the tide has turned, and Region 2 is tough as nails. Carrington, I don't know. This team might be one of the best teams I've seen out of Class B in a very long time. As long as they can spread it out, they had so much coming back, setting a new state record this last year with points. So it's going to be very interesting. Napoleon had a hold onto that for so many years, but I look at this Carrington team, and oh man, we got guys already signing to go to colleges. Previous to their season year, we got several of them that played football and are just so many good athletes. And yet this isn't going to be their last year. Carrington's got a great kids program who always challenges themselves to wrestle the Matt Packs, the tech teams, these other big teams, because guess what? These kids that do hang with the sport are good. So it's going to be interesting watching the whole thing come down. But I think Carrington, everyone's going to be chasing them. And then after that, I tell you what, Pembina County North has got some good wrestlers. Central Cass has got a couple in the mix. Hillsboro's got a couple. But it always takes a few away. But it's hard to compare to the Carrington. I would think if you put the best dual team together, putting all the team's best studs in the Region 2 against Carrington still comes out on top. Yeah. That's how tough they were this year. When I start talking about Class A, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of really spread out. West Fargo has got some good studs, but it could be kind of down a little bit for considering West Fargo team. Bismarck High, they know how to rise to any occasion come the end of the year. I can never count them out, but in Class A, it's going to be probably the most even field we've seen in a while, where the Mandans and Dickinsons have got a lot, Minot's got a lot coming back, and then on the other side, West Fargo, you always think of the Fargo Souths used to be so good, but now it's down to Davies has got a really nice team. West Fargo soon will have a second high school that will also have wrestling in it. Kind of like Bismarck, we've got the new Legacy School on the far side. And so I don't know. It's those that want to put in the time. I know we've got a new head coach, full head coach by himself in Mandan that's done a great job, Luke Melmer, and it all based on having a great junior high program. You got to have the whole gamut kids program. You got to have the middle school program, and then it leads to a great high school program, and it all needs coordinated by somebody that's willing to put in a lot of work. So thumbs up to all those coaches that know they have to put in the work to get it done. And I talk a lot, you can tell. But Mitch, as we start going out through the wrestling season, do you have any main coaching philosophies on, let's say there's a young coach out there? Now, first I'll ask you one thing. Now, a lot of people don't know how long you've been coaching. Tell us how many years you've been coaching, and then kind of give me a little history about yourself on how you've always wanted to kind of be a head coach and deliver one of these top teams and so forth. Just give me a little bit about yourself that way.
Sure. I guess growing up, I grew up in Cavalier, North Dakota, and started wrestling in second grade, and just became my favorite sport, and it always has been since I started it. And when I got done with high school, I tried wrestling for a year at Moorhead State, and had a shoulder injury, kind of sidelined me for the last half of the year. And I liked college wrestling. I liked the Moorhead State Dragons wrestling team that I was a part of. Got to be part of a conference championship team that year. But I'm not much of a big city guy, so even the Fargo-Moorhead area was a little bigger than what I liked. So transferred back a little closer to home to Mayville State. And as you probably know, they don't have a wrestling program. They used to, but they don't anymore. So I played 1 year of football there and enjoyed that experience, but was getting a little banged up there. And I decided, probably I don't want to be crippled by the time I'm 25. So hung up the football cleats. And well, at that time, the wrestling season was getting started for the high schoolers. And I went over to the high school and asked if they had any positions open. And and they said, well, you can volunteer if you'd like to. And I said, sure, I'll do that. And I did that for a season. And the following year, their assistant coach, he decided to go back to school, and he moved to the Fargo area, and I took over his position and coached under Jim Rigg there for a couple years. And then Jim, his two boys graduated, and he decided that his coaching career was he was going to put that on hold, and slid into the head coaching position. So been a head coach now for about 6 or 7 years. I think this is my 12th year overall coaching. So.
Oh, that's amazing, because I tell you what, it's that love for the sport. You know, being a head coach has always kind of been one of my dreams in Class A level, but I've had these opportunities just to be involved. To me, it means more to be involved than actually having that top dog scenario in the back of my mind. I'm not a controlling person. I don't know. I'm probably be made to be a good assistant coach, because I always kind of see things at a different angle, and having that, could you say, the thumb on the whole program of anything must be tough, because I've had it a couple different times where I've done it, but it's been short-lived, just changing jobs and doing different things. But you know, one thing I would really like to ask you, philosophy coaching wise, let's think about starting the year till the end. Is there any practice routine you like to do when it comes to philosophy to get them in shape at the beginning of the season, and then at the end of the year? You know, I don't want to get into myself, but I've always got kind of different philosophies. So I just want to hear yours on how you started getting your guys into shape.
Sure. You know, early in the season, it's tough at the Class B level, and we're still a building program here in Watford City. So we really have a mix of some upperclassmen who have been wrestling for a long time, and we've got 3 returning state place winners on this year's team. So I need to come up with a way to challenge those kids. But then I've also got a handful of kids who are wrestling for the first time in their life this year. And so I also have to come up with ways to teach them the fundamentals. So I'm real lucky to have a good helping staff. I've got Marshall Krebs is my assistant coach at the varsity level, and our head junior high coach is Keith Larson. And we all practice in the same room together, 7 through 12. And this year we've got about 20 kids on the team. So early in the season, what we've been doing is we start our practice, we get warmed up, and then we have 3 different groups. We have our light weights that are more advanced, our upper weights that are more advanced, and then our kind of light to heavy guys that are beginners. And so each coach takes a station, and we go 10 to 15 minutes on just technique. And every 10 or 15 minutes we rotate. And so if I'm showing double legs, when I have the advanced group, it's a little more up-paced drilling, and when I've got the beginner groups, it's really starting from scratch. And so teaching the same thing to 3 different groups, but every group is very different. So,
well, that's cool, because the organization is such a big thing. Going through practice organization, I've written articles on it, and one of the big things that I've always seen is the coaches that are good have a method of going from the beginner and then advancing them by all keeping them kind of on the same pace, but yet, like you said, having a little bit more advanced pace so that they can keep it going. Like just plain drilling high crotches, doubles, and singles, and the basics of all the wrestling from your feet is so key. And then catching them on the good parts. And once you find that good part, because guess what? Not every kid's going to have a great high crotch, but
right.
They need to have a shot. And so if it's not a high crotch, it's got to be a single or a double. And then, so guess what? You're going to drill them all, and you don't have to do both sides. It's one big misnomer that a lot of people do. We're going to shoot left, going to shoot right. And I think you're wasting half your practice by doing both sides. A kid will start finding good what they're doing on one side, and then the better ones will be able to work both sides. So key to have one of those shots. But guess what? As a good wrestling coach, you start finding the strengths of your wrestlers. Some are going to be throwers. Some's going to be ducks. Some are going to have good down blocks to be able to do some good defense. Mm-hmm. I've seen different coaches. Like, for an example, I really watch different coaches on how they approach their kids, and I just love some of the different coaches on how they just sit in their corner and let the kids wrestle. That's hard for me. I'm a yeller. And so even they don't even have to listen to me, but I'm really impressed. Sometimes I can watch like a Randy Berwick or a Corey Shaw, some of the guys that I know very well and have long conversations with, that at different parts of the season, while they're wrestling, they don't think they have to do as much coaching out there. But yet, guess what? There are certain points where they step off to the side and they said, guess what? Do you remember shooting that double and single? Because you always got to go back to the match, good or bad. And wrestling, I don't know. It's just one of those things that have always just has me going so much mentally, and that's why I've fallen in love with the sport, because there's so many different aspects. And I love all the different coaches' approaches, and I wish I could just get in the ear of all of them and find out more.
Yeah.
Like I said, I talk a lot, Mitch, so I do apologize a little bit. But, I'm going to cut this out a little bit short. I know it took us a while to get this going, but I really want to, if you have any last words you want to say about wrestling, I'm going to go from there, and then we'll talk again in the near future. How about that? What do you want to say to end this out? And then I'll have something.
Good. Look forward to being able to do this with you whenever you want me to. And I'm looking forward to a really good season. I think it's going to be a competitive year in North Dakota wrestling. And I guess good luck to all of the wrestlers and coaches around the state that are watching this.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, thank you for showing up tonight. John Gums with Dakota Grappler. Mitch, I'm going to have Mitch on a lot. We'll get multiple coaches on here. I know we're just trying this for the first time tonight, so bear with us. Hopefully the volume's fine for you guys hearing it out there. I will post this on YouTube. I'll try to get a link to it on the Dakota Grappler. And as this advances, give me all the advice. No good, bad. I won't take anything the wrong way. Just give me good creative advice. I can deal with all the trolls that happen to be out on the internet, all that other stuff. But just, I want to be positive about wrestling, and we can make this a good thing. So just anything you need, just get a hold of me, John Gums at Dakota Grappler. I'm here to promote the sport of wrestling in the state of North and South Dakota. And good luck to everybody out there this year. Stay healthy and work hard, and you guys will have all the success in the world. Okay. Well, good night, Mitch. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. Talk to you later. Yep. Bye-bye.